In this edition of the Resilient Professional Podcast, we're going to talk about energy and how to cultivate it through exercise and exercise tips, and getting to know a little bit more about our mitochondrial cells, how the cultivation of mitochondrial cells is a secret weapon to building up more energy so we can achieve our professional and personal goals. As well, be sure to view the landing page for this podcast, as we have additional helpful resources that supplement this podcast material. Welcome to the Resilient Professional Podcast. Professional success really is a game of inches. You have the experience and knowledge, but you realize that professional success is more than just knowledge and experience. It's actually applying what you already know. It's about consistently applying what you know in spite of the challenges that are sure to come your way. You know, Olympians know how to battle adversity and to perform at their best, even in the midst of setbacks and frustrations. I think we can learn a lot from the Olympian mindset. It really is about the cultivation of resiliency. Physical resiliency, emotional resiliency, relational resiliency, cognitive resiliency, resiliency in each aspect of our lives. On a regular basis, we'll unpack these ideas through guest speakers and podcast material that will take you to the next level of professional success. Well, in this edition of the Resilient Professional Podcast, we're going to talk about creating energy and resiliency through your physical body. You know, the first step in your training journey to resiliency is to focus on strategies that can enhance the energy capacity of your physical body. This is the area that is at the base of your energy or resiliency pyramid. And by focusing on this area, you can get some really quick energy resiliency wins that will show up in a relatively short period of time. So some of these strategies will sound common sense to you, and others may be brand new. For now, we'll simply explore some ideas together. And we all know that the tough part is actual implementation and application, integration of these ideas into our daily life. So don't worry about that right now. We will have some resources on the landing page for this podcast that will talk about how you can actually implement and follow through on these strategies. So for now, simply review the material and, where appropriate, work through the reflection exercises I'll talk about in this podcast. We'll explore implementation strategies later on. So first of all, what is health? Obviously an important piece of the energy resiliency equation. In large measure, your health is defined by how well your biochemistry is working. One helpful analogy for this whole area of health is a car engine. What does a car require to run properly? It requires sufficient fuel in the gas tank, and then the fuel needs to get to the engine. So the first step is successfully delivery of the fuel. The engine can then do its job to generate power and propulsion. What happens at the back of the vehicle? Well, you get rid of exhaust. However, if you plug up the exhaust pipe, the engine eventually ceases to function because of exhaust or waste in the engine. Well, our bodies are really exactly the same. First, your body runs best on high-quality fuel. Fuel provides the ingredients necessary to produce energy that drives all the metabolic processes in your body. And these metabolic processes create metabolic wastes that need to be constantly flushed from your body. Illness occurs when there are inadequate nutrients or fuel, or when too much toxicity or exhaust builds up in the body/engine. Illness can come from either of these two triggers or a combination of these two factors. You know, high blood pressure is a great example. You know, when you run, your blood pressure goes up as the body adapts to create homeostasis or balance. In the same way, you may experience chronic high blood pressure if you place your body in a constant situation in which it has to respond to a stressful environment that raises blood pressure. This adds ongoing stress on the body and its natural drive to create homeostasis or equilibrium. If you place your body in this state too long, you may cause permanent damage. So let's look at some key elements that will help your body achieve homeostasis or optimized metabolic health. Well, if your home was damaged in a storm, you would never think of taking the wreckage and using it to build your home's new foundation, at least ideally. You would head off to the lumber yard and get new material to build your home and create a strong foundation. In the same way, our body requires high-quality material in order to build a sound structure that is resilient. It is important to keep in mind that your health is a function of 4 areas that are constantly interacting, for better or for worse. Those are high-quality food, exercise, your environment, and even your thoughts. These 4 factors are constantly interacting to drive your experience of health. There's really no middle ground here. When it comes to your physical health, you're either falling forward or falling backward. All 4 areas are important. You could be doing the first 3 really well. Let's say you're nutritional practices are great, you're getting some exercise, your environment's good, but maybe you're under stress or feeling anxious. Your overall health will suffer if psychologically you're exposed to stress and not doing well in that area. So think about a time when you were racing down the highway and all of a sudden you saw a police car as you came over a hill. Your heart rate automatically went up, your muscles got tense, and maybe your blood pressure went up. So your physiology is constantly reacting to these factors in your environment and your thoughts. Unfortunately, most of us are completely unconscious of the impacts. For example, you may think you're calm as you go into an important meeting. However, in actuality, you may be moving into a mild fight or flight response. The practical reality is your heart rate may be elevated, your amygdala, that part of your brain that attunes you to danger, is on high alert, and your prefrontal cortex, the planning, logical part of your brain, is compromised as blood pressure and blood is being shunted to the limbs to get you ready for battle. Not an ideal scenario when you're going into an important meeting. Now, more often than not, you won't be conscious of these changes. Yes, sometimes they'll be so dramatic that you can't help but notice. Ever experienced stage fright? Usually these physiological changes are subtle and just under the surface of our awareness. So your resilience, health, and performance are compromised when you're going through this, but you're really not sure why. So let's explore some strategies that will help optimize your physiology, reduce your stress, and ultimately increase your energy and resilience so you can be a resilient professional and be more effective in the various contexts that can lead to stress. So first of all, let's look at the benefits of exercise. If you want to increase your energy and your resilience capacity, then you need to integrate movement into each day. I think we all know this, but unfortunately not everyone embraces the notion of exercise. Maybe it's negative experiences from childhood or friends or family who've been less than encouraging. Maybe you have health issues that keep you from moving. Now, some of you have given up on the notion of movement long ago, and it feels like a battle just to start doing it. But remember, it's absolutely never too late to start. So for many people, it's simply a matter of just finding time in the midst of their busy schedules to get it done. Now, it's a challenge, I get that. But you likely find time to do other things in your life that are important, like brushing your teeth. Now, moving is so important that it needs to be the same kind of habitual activity as brushing your teeth every day. Now, in spite of the potential roadblocks, it's important to reflect on the huge benefits attached to moving your body. And what's very encouraging about movement research is that data confirms that it takes very little movement to foster positive benefits for your overall health and resiliency. Really as little as 3 times a week for 20 minutes. So let's just quickly talk about the benefits of exercise. And you've probably heard about many of these. But first of all, exercise breaks down body tissue so that new tissue can be built, so you get actually physically stronger. Important for new nutrients to be absorbed. So as you eat healthy and then you exercise and break down body tissue, those new nutrients can be absorbed into your body to make you stronger. Exercise can be a good process for detoxification. So as you sweat, you detoxify. Psychologically, exercise is proven to provide a positive emotional and psychological boost, and it fights depression. It leads to a more efficient heart. It pumps blood through your whole body, including your brain, makes you smarter, and there's research that demonstrates that there's improvement to brain health and overall cognition. And finally, exercise actually improves energy. Seems counterintuitive that when you exercise and use energy, that you actually create more energy. And we'll talk about that in a bit as we talk about mitochondrial density and these little engines we call mitochondrial cells. So if exercise is not part of your regular routine, you may not have an important enough why. And so we'll talk about that, and we've talked about that in previous podcasts, that you really need to have a desire to make change in your life that is more powerful than the habitual activities that we have in our lives currently. So getting started is really part of the process, but also finding a compelling why is what keeps you going through the tough, sometimes frustrating patches that you'll go through. Developing a compelling why really can be cultivated through something as simple as reflection. In other words, what is the natural consequence in your life if you do not initiate change, if regular exercise is not part of your life right now, and it doesn't become part of your life, as you look at the next year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, what do you think the consequence will be? Would there be consequences around chronic health issues? Would there be consequences around increasing healthcare costs? Would there be consequences around your interaction with family members, playing with your kids or your grandchildren? And really, at the end of the day, that's what you need to reflect on. If you're okay with status quo, great. I mean, this section may not be overly relevant for you. But if you're not, but you're having a tough time getting started, you need to spend some time thinking about the consequences. And unfortunately, it's the pain of those consequences, the uncomfortable feeling that we get, that helps us to want to change, to have a powerful enough why. So what I'd like you to do is to reflect on some of the things that could come into your life if you don't initiate movement and getting active and building exercise into your life. So for now, I want you to reflect and give consideration to starting with some small goals and to find something you'd enjoy doing. There's all kinds of activities out there. Really try to find one that works for you. And if it works for you and you enjoy it and it becomes part of your regular routines, then you have a greater likelihood of keeping it going. So action number 1 is I want you to reflect on some activity that you could begin integrating into your life. Begin to brainstorm what those activities are. Begin to brainstorm when they might happen through your week. What makes most sense? I know in my own life, most of my workouts take place first thing in the morning. I just know from experience that if I book a time after work or at lunch hour, inevitably other things will come up through my day that will keep me from getting that workout in. So I've developed a habit of getting up first thing in the morning, getting that exercise or that routine done so that the rest of the day, no matter what comes up, I know that I got my workout in. So reflect on kinds of exercises, what would you be interested in, what research do you need to do to get started, look at your schedule, what would be workable for you. And just take baby steps. Start with maybe 3 times a week for 20 minutes. Try to find that in your calendar. Now, I alluded to mitochondrial cells or mitochondrial density. Well, mitochondrial cells are the body's energy plants. One of the benefits of regular exercise is to increase the level of physical energy that you can bring to your day. And like I said before, it seems counterintuitive that by using up some of your energy, you actually create the conditions to increase your energy capacity. So we have what's called the body's energy plants, mitochondrial cells, to thank for this. And fortunately, we can increase and nurture these little energy cells through a combination of exercise, healthy diet, and managing stress. Now let's look at a few interesting facts about the mitochondria. The number of mitochondrial cells determines the speed of your metabolism. The more mitochondrial cells you have, the faster your metabolism. And the amount of mitochondria varies not only from one organ to another, but also from one person to another. And part of this is genetic, but environmental factors can make a difference too, including things like exercise. A fit person has better functioning mitochondrial cells per pound of body weight. An efficient metabolism is an excellent marker for health. After all, you want to use all the calories you eat for energy instead of storing them up and getting fat. If your mitochondria are sluggish or damaged, or you don't have enough of them, your metabolism won't be efficient and your energy level will suffer. And if you don't have enough energy, then your health will start to fall. It's really a vicious cycle. So these mitochondrial cells are very critical. And what's nice, like I said, is that just exercise alone can increase mitochondrial density and increase your energy. Now, mitochondria can fail due to a lack of proper nutrients or from oxidative damage because the process of burning calories to provide energy in the mitochondrial cells requires oxygen. And free radicals are produced as a byproduct of creating this energy. And these free radicals are also known as reactive oxygen species, sometimes referred to as ROS. Think of these ROS as the sparks that fly off a quickly burning fire. As your mitochondria burn fuel, food, to make energy, these sparks can burn and damage the mitochondria. As the mitochondria are damaged, they're no longer able to create energy for the cells, and the cells die. Normally, your mitochondria have their own natural defenses against these sparks, a sort of built-in sprinkler system. This sprinkler system is the mitochondrial antioxidant system composed of important antioxidants that can cool the heat and extinguish the sparks from the process of internal combustion inside the mitochondria. These antioxidants include important nutrients such as vitamin E, coenzyme Q10 as an example, and others. And they're outlined in the Resilient Professional ebook. Anything that interferes with the antioxidant system will allow for mitochondrial damage, which then leads to cell damage and ultimately death. As well, deficiencies in these previously mentioned antioxidants can lead to mitochondrial sluggishness. So when we examine disease and illness at a cellular level, we find mitochondrial damage or dysfunction occurring in almost every major type of illness, including Alzheimer's disease, hepatitis, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and cancer. So protecting and caring properly for these little power plants is a critical objective in promoting optimal health, energy, and resiliency. So to increase energy, you need to increase mitochondrial density and mitochondrial health. And you accomplish this through regular and vigorous exercise, great nutritional practices, and supplementing with antioxidants. Well, I hope you enjoyed this discussion on creating energy. It's at the base of the energy resiliency pyramid. It's an easy thing to do. But for many of us, we need to spend a bit of time in reflection, to have a powerful why, maybe experience a little bit of psychological or emotional pain by thinking about some of the consequences of our lack of energy driven by a lack of activity that's been built into our life. Part 2 is begin to look at and brainstorm activities that you might be able to integrate into your week. View it as a discipline just like brushing your teeth. Start small. That could be 2 or 3 times a week for 20 minutes. And look at your calendar, see what you can do to plug in those 20-minute periods. And you will experience some very quick and meaningful benefits from integrating those exercises. And then finally, we talked about mitochondrial density, which can be developed through, again, physical exercise. Your muscles have a high proportion of mitochondrial cells, so by definition, when you get out and walk and exercise, you'll increase their density, and you will ultimately increase your overall energy. So all the best as you increase mitochondrial density and energy so you can be a resilient professional. For more information about these concepts, be sure to download the Resilient Professional ebook. And as well, if you go to the landing page for this particular podcast, we'll have some additional information on nurturing the mitochondrial cells and the benefits of exercise. You take care.